in community as part of the team that ran it, the core group, and it made me a much better person. I learned the ideal of selflessness and caring for others there more than anywhere else in my life.
Do you have a personal spiritual practice other than attendance at organized worship services? And if so, what is it?
I go in and out of a spiritual practice. I sometimes wish that I were more disciplined in that regard. Right now I am trying to devote at least 10 minutes a day to stillness, and I can do what I want with that time. If I want to journal or just sit and not think about work. And I, for a time, practiced some Ayin meditation, which is real mind emptying as opposed to having a mantra. And I was able to do that for slightly longer periods of time between thoughts drifting in. But I do get very caught up in my daily life, and I would benefit from increasing my practice again. And so just sitting in stillness is good. I got into yoga when I moved here, and that has helped a great deal also for quieting my mind. I need to quiet my mind more and listen to what comes in.
If one of our viewers was inspired by your answer and they wanted to try serving someone or something outside themselves, what could they expect to get from it by serving someone or something other than themselves?
To expect or demand reward for good acts is a bit of folly, and I would caution against it. Better a gift economy than an exchange or a barter. In a gift economy, things are given. You can give me something back if you want to, but it's not a trade. I'm doing this for you because it benefits me to give you something, or because I see a need and I want to try to help you out. But for me to give you something as a gift, there's something precious in giving a gift as opposed to commerce.
If I could give you a 100% ironclad guarantee of success for your next project, 0 chance of failure, what would you attempt?
Either abolishing nuclear weapons in power and dealing with the waste successfully. That's one big one. And I would say resolving the Israeli-Palestinian conflict without either side being annihilated would be the other big one.
Let's pretend right now that all 7 billion of us are going to watch this video. What would you say to us?
We're not alone. Try not to feel like you're all alone, or only your people matter, or that only your people are under threat. Whatever you feel, you're not alone. And may that knowledge expand our consciousness and compassion for one another.
What's your favorite movie?
My favorite movie is Singing in the Rain. On the spot, I could probably think of another one some other time, but I rented Singing in the Rain not too long ago because I wanted to see Donald O'Connor's Make 'em Laugh routine, but I couldn't not watch the entire movie, and it felt so good.
What's your favorite book?
My favorite book, at least one of them, is by Rabbi David Cooper. It's called God is a Verb. And the other one is a large format book called Power of the People. And it's a visual history of nonviolent movements in the United States and before the United States existed.
Who are your heroes?
My heroes include the classic pacifists like Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks and Cesar Chavez, and especially Dorothy Day. And from the Jewish faith, I think Abraham Joshua Heschel has much to teach us, and the Baal Shem Tov.
What can we as a society do to encourage more people to become servant leaders?
There's nothing like leading by example. We need to serve more, stay good-humored, show that we're not doing it for the reward. Not that we should deny that receiving is also good, but not doing it for the gain. Well, we just have to lead by example.
Is there anything I've neglected to ask you about your politics, your religion, philosophy, service, that you think bears mentioning at this juncture?
Another important influence for me was Wiccan spiritual practice, earth-based spiritual practices, learning from the Western Shoshone here in my time in Las Vegas about learning from the earth, appreciating the life of the earth, and that the reclaiming tradition of Wicca, and I want to thank Starhawk for helping write and articulate much that is good in this path, including permaculture and working with the earth for betterment of our lives as people on this planet. That I want to thank the earth-based spiritualities also for important lessons. And in Judaism there is some of that also. Where it's not.
It was an agricultural culture in biblical and prophetic times.
And pastoral, right. Reliant on the land. So I want to thank our earth-based spiritual practitioners also.
Thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Bruce.
Hi, today we're interviewing Jim Haber. Jim works as a peace advocate and activist. He's done a lot of different kinds of good works, but it's mostly been centered on anti-nuclear and peace movements. He's also worked for the rights of returning veterans. Thank you for meeting with me today, Jim. Before we get started in the meat of the interview, please tell us where you were born, where you grew up, and a little bit about your family of origin.
Yeah, thank you, Bruce. I was born in Oakland, California, and raised in a suburban community south of San Francisco. My father worked for Long's drugstores, and my mother went back to school when my sisters and I'm the youngest of three, were in school, and she went back and finished her degree. They met at UC Berkeley, raised in a somewhat observant, Reform Jewish household. So I became a bar mitzvah, went to Sunday school, celebrated the Jewish holidays, and I guess we were raised fairly liberal politically. I think I moved a little bit more to the quote-unquote left when I got to college, but always felt called to be progressive. And I was interested in science early on and studied physics at college. Thought about being a teacher, got a teaching credential, but also worked in mental health when I was younger. and kind of used what I learned working in mental health to, I don't know, that helps, I think, my communication as an activist. Nevada Desert Experience started to oppose nuclear weapons testing because of the Nevada test site, about 65 miles away. Currently, we focus on general anti-nuclear organizing, and also because Creech Air Force Base is nearby, we have added drones and the problem of drone warfare as a major focus of the organization. Also promoting nonviolence in general in life and as a spiritual and as a practical tool.
Would you say that you're against civilian uses of nuclear energy?
Yeah, I think nuclear energy really can't be separated as much as people would like to separate it from nuclear weapons. Nuclear power is needed for some of the materials for nuclear weapons, and in neither instance can we really deal with the waste, and I don't see on the horizon that we're really going to be able to deal with the waste well. So yes, I oppose nuclear power as well as nuclear weapons, and certainly fallout from Chernobyl and Fukushima continue to wreak havoc on the world. Another point of the Nevada Desert Experience mission is to connect people to the power and beauty of the desert. And there's a tradition of spiritualism in walking with the desert, being in the desert, and what that represents. So that's another part of our mission.
Are you familiar with the way France reprocesses its spent nuclear fuel?
A little bit. I've read some critiques. I mean, at first, I know that they don't worry about transportation. They do what I think would be termed hardened on-site storage. And there's some push in this country for nuclear power generators to store waste on site longer term than we plan to now. I have read a couple of critiques of the French model not being the panacea as it sometimes is made out to be. Unfortunately, the reactors in this country, many of them have a different design, and the way the waste is stored is bad as, in fact, the same as the way it was stored at Fukushima, which was part of the problem there.
Please explain the difference to us between non-violence and no war.
War is like the largest failure of human civilization. It means that we've broken down totally, not just interpersonally, but on a grand scale. Nonviolence isn't just a lack of physical violence or even verbal violence. It can be a practical tool for some, including great proponents of nonviolence like Gene Sharp, who feel that it is a useful tactic and strategy to overcome oppression. But people like Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr., some of the Franciscan and Jesuit heroes and friends of mine also feel that the more we imbue our lives and instill it with nonviolence, then that's a fuller success and a fuller improvement for the world and humanity.
Give us an example of a nonviolent practice that one might implement in a personal relationship.
One of the basic ones are a communication tool known as I statements. And in an I statement, I would not speak for you. I would express a feeling I have or a need that I have. And by remembering to reflect on oneself instead of to assume or put on someone else your perception, then people on the receiving end tend to be more open to hearing us